time for our next one. It's Guy Taylor. Guy Taylor, the infamous Guy Taylor.
Well, first and foremost, what a turnout. I mean, come on, be honest, mate. Last time I was here, what a turnout. So, things are moving on, aren't they? So, right, I've made a little few notes, right, because nothing's really organised when I'm talking about anything, as you probably realise, and so I think everybody knows me, so I don't have to go through who I am and what I'm about and all that, yeah? So I think we're on that page. Oh, come on. I mean, talk to me later. I mean, that's the whole point. If the place gets too full, and there are people that you need to talk to, you think you want to. Surely the place to talk to is out the back in the garden. Yeah, people like Carol or Mark or Tom or or John or whoever's involved. That's the place to talk to them one to one. Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm here, I'm up for talking to anybody. And whatever. So first and foremost, there seems to be a them and us situation, right? There's them and there's us, right? And this is what they always say in the 60s. Who are them then? Well, I'll tell you who them are. Them are the people who aren't operating correctly. They're operating outside their jurisdiction, operating as almost like a virus in the system. The ones who are doing their job correctly, whether it be in the police, whether it be in social service, we're happy with them to the extent that as long as they're operating under the codes of the law. But I mean, there's a them and us situation. There's a them and those who are doing wrong. There's them who are doing things wrong and us. So as far as I'm concerned, that's what the situation is. So where we're talking about mass actions and things, I've done private criminal prosecutions, and we've been involved in all this stuff over all these years. Each one of us, we know when we make a complaint or we say something that's wrong, we're like a little arrow, right? And it's a huge, it's Godzilla, right? We're chucking, and we know our arrow's got no good, it's got no power. So what we do is we become a quiver of arrows. If we were all grains of sand on a beach, would we realise we were a beach? Oh no, I'm just a grain of sand. Oh, I'm just a grain, and so we are the beach. So we become a quiver, and that quiver of arrows we can attack the thing that we've got problems with. Trust, right? These are, again, I'm just on the things that I've heard the other day. Trust. What's trust? Okay. Of course, we trust each other, right? We're human beings, right? You're looking after each other's interests, aren't we? You look after my interests, I look after yours. If I'm driving down the road, I'm not going to head my car at your car and kill you if I want to kill myself. Yeah. So there's always an element of trust, and that's what they've abused by manufacturing our consent as if it was involved in a trust. Gang stalking. Now, I know that's been mentioned here today. Gang stalking. It goes on. Our neighbourhood watch isn't the neighbourhood watch anymore. It's the Stasi state, yeah? And we're involved with military people who are ex-special forces who are telling us this is what's going on. If there's a local group, a local focus group involved in the security of that estate, they become completely isolated. They then start getting funding. It's in their interest to make sure there's things going wrong. This is what's going on all over the country. So, we don't trust each other anymore. There you go, trust. What's going on? Who can you trust? Well, I've said this many occasions, right? When you're in a group and you're with people and the person isn't trying to stop what you're trying to say to someone else, or I don't want him talking to Mark, he might say this. When you just say, look, get on and work with people, we're all different, right? When you're doing that and people don't like that and try and step in and partition you, that's when you know things are going wrong. Because it's not just the cream that rises to the top, it's also the scum, right? So we've got to be aware of that. And I think that most people have got a filter system nowadays, and I think our filter system is pretty good. It don't take long to work out who's right, who's wrong, and who's indifferent. And a lot of people are fairly autistic who are involved in what we're doing, and that's because they're wired up differently. And so we look at that and think, well, okay, well that guy, he is a bit odd, but it doesn't mean he's a wrong one, it just means he's different, his thought process is different. So we've got to take that into account, but our filter systems are becoming better. And if you can't get a reference to somebody else, someone introduce themselves and I'm a great mate of Mark's or Tom's or whatever, I can check that out and check the reference out. And check that out. Football fans, that was mentioned by John, right? Interesting. Because a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I had talks with top boys, right? People who were supposed to be, so I don't know if you know, but Nottingham Forest football fans might hate Bristol City football fans, but if they're playing each other, they arrange a meet beforehand to have a fight, right? And they've got each other's mobile numbers, and they go there and they kick shit out of each other, right? Why, I don't know, right? But they do that all over the country. And then what happens is, if there's a European match, they'll look up together and go over on the coaches and work together. So my way of looking at it at that point was, well, hang on, you're worried about a piece of leather being kicked around. There's people in your town getting ripped out of their houses, even when they've got haven't got a mortgage. You know, we've got to the stage where there are people who are dying, and their families are coming there, and then all of a sudden the solicitor's saying, oh, there was a charge upon the property, and basically sucking the whole estate dry. I mean, it's going on all over, you know, on a massive scale. Okay, we don't need proof of it. Anyone who thinks the banks are right, I mean, you get some of these mental fraggles, we call them, trolls, you know, they must think the banks are perfectly correct, the courts are operating perfectly correct, but I think everyone here will agree that none of them are operating correctly. Not one of them. Yep. Right? So, and if you scrutinise any of them, they all fall apart fairly quick. So, that's my little rant on what's happened there. Now, what's happened to me recently? Very interesting, because all I try and do is I try and throw myself, whether I'm insane or whatever, I try and throw myself into the wheels and the cogs of the machine and see what happens. So, for instance, about 5-6 years ago, when we sold some property. It was some industrial land, and I sold it to a person in Hereford, and we'd done it through solicitors, it was all done, the stuff I'd inherited. I kept getting business rate bills for the area, so I just binned them. I'm not going to initiate a response. This went on for some time, next thing they took me to bankruptcy. So I thought, hang on, they're trying to bankrupt me for something that I don't own, I've sold, I've done it all through solicitors, I thought, let them just carry on. Let's see where they want to take this. They took it to bankruptcy court. We went the whole way, you know, no one had done their diligence in between to discover that, oh, you'd sold the land. It wasn't in my name, it had gone. And of course, when it came to the death of it, in a magistrate's court appearance in Hereford, to do with business rates, and to do with my irregular distress against those business rates. They got a barrister all the way from London, a woman called Mrs. Wrigley, yeah? She's walking around in her little gown and all that, come in the magistrate's court, and we battered her. Because I didn't own the land. It's not my responsibility to tell you. I've got a right to remain silent. Why would I be telling you anything? You guys should be doing your job. But you're not doing your job, for God's sake. And you've taken me all the way to this position, and you've threatened me with the worst thing possible, you know, besides killing me, bankruptcy in their world. So, I'm quite happy to do that. Whether I inherited what I did originally, my inheritance wasn't actually the money and the property, my inheritance perhaps was the experience of what I was going to find out through getting robbed of the property. Who knows? Who knows? So, we move on. And we move on to what's happened in this court case involving me, which I think everyone put their hands up there, everyone aware of it. Okay, I might have to give a bit of explanation. Back before Christmas, I received a phone call. It's numbers withheld. If it's a withheld number, then I don't usually pick up. But for some reason, I picked up the phone, and there's a guy on the other end. Is that Guy Taylor? Who's that? You rung me. Who wants to know? It's police, and they said Duffield Parish Police Force or Area Police Force. So I said, oh yeah. And he said, right, you're not obliged to say anything. If you so he immediately started reading me our rights under pace on the phone. So I laughed because we get a lot of phone calls, right? And I just hung up the phone because you're trying to read my rights over the phone. I don't even know who you are, right? So that's what happened. So that was it. Never heard any more. And then in March, on March the 13th, I think it was, last month, I'm at home on a Sunday night. Police around the house, which I've had on many occasions. Police around the house, torches, the whole 9 yards. Inspector banging the doors, open the door. We're going to break the door down, etc., etc. So I've gone downstairs. What's going on? I said, right, show me the warrant. He said, we haven't got the warrant. I said, right, okay, under the criminal procedure rules, because you've got to use their own rules. It's no good. You've got to use their own rules against them. Right? Under CPR Criminal Procedure Rule 13.5, you've got to show me the warrant. Unable to show me the warrant. Oh, is it in electronic form? I'm happy for anything to be shown to me. No, taken out of police station, made a complaint, never seen the warrant. They told me that there was an offence in Welshpool Magistrates Court where apparently someone has kicked off with allegedly a solicitor and a security guy on the door, and that I was charged with a Section 5, which is a public order offence, which you can't go to prison for. But I was charged. Apparently they'd had enough evidence to charge me with this. So fair enough, okay. I was then dragged over to, well, I was locked up all night. In the morning I was put into the hands of Reliance guys, you know, G4S type security. I explained to both the police and the security, look, you can't have any paperwork for this because you're now going to place me as a chattel in a vehicle, give me over to a private security company. You've got to have the correct paperwork, and I haven't seen a warrant. I've seen nothing. So of course the police is a little bit beyond them. They've still given me over to this private security company. I'm putting a little metal box and travel best part 100 miles over to Welshpool, but then they decided it was going to be Aberystwyth, which I hadn't been to Aberystwyth since I was about 14. So I was taken to a court in Aberystwyth. Dangerous, mind, in the back of those things. They got no, you know, it's like a little metal container. You got no seatbelts. If you have an accident, and you're going up by Rhaeadr, it's serious mountainside. You're looking, I can see through the little tinted window. There's a big drop there, yeah. And these guys aren't even insured to carry me around, guaranteed, because you can't be insured for anything that's an act of God or breaking the law. And if they haven't got the correct paperwork, they haven't got the law to take me anywhere. They shouldn't be allowing me in cargo. Anyway, we get to Aberystwyth. Eventually, when we get to the town, it takes them half an hour with the sat-nav to find the court, which is genuine. So they're pulling up and asking people in the street. So I'm the only one in this metal box. So I'm getting quite cross, saying, listen, ask someone in a shop. You're asking tourists. There's people here who come to the seaside. Ask someone in a shop. And eventually they did. And they got us to the marina, because it's on a marina. So I'm dragged in there. And when you're in court, you've never been in a place like it. There's a beautiful marina with all yachts and boats, etc. So when that happened, now take into account now, I keep saying to them, you're saying I'm in breach of bail, failing to surrender to bail in January. This is now March. I've never been charged, I've never been arrested, I've never been interviewed, and I've never been bailed. So how can I be in breach of bail? Nobody can answer this question. And where's the warrant, which nobody can produce? I end up getting put into the court. So when I'm put into the court, Mark and Tom and Duffy Morgan and a few others are there. So, right, so when I'm in court, I clearly state that there's business before the court. Doesn't mean business before the court. It means business before there's a court case. Simple as that. And the business before the court case is what lawyers and barristers call pleas in bar. Now, we think that there's a plea, they tell us there's a plea. Guilty or not guilty. There's loads of pleas in between them. There's no not just not guilty or guilty. You know, and I've explained stood here. If there was a burglary over the road that we know hadn't been a burglary because the guy had done it himself, and you were charged with that burglary, you wouldn't plead guilty to it or not guilty. You'd say there's no case to answer. And this is the same. So the various pleas, I've got some stuff written here which might help them, right? So the dilatory plea, which is what I do one day. A dilatory plea is a plea that does not challenge the merits of a case, but that seeks to delay or defeat the action on procedural grounds. So he's saying, well, excuse me, yeah, there's been no process, I've just been brought here out of the blue. I don't know anything about that case. Maybe someone has kicked off in Welshpool, but it wasn't me, right? But you've already established there was enough to charge me with it. So I haven't got to prove anything. You've already proved to yourself that it must be me. That's why you've charged me. Right? You've got a peremptory plea, right? And that's called a plea in bar. They're made by defendants to curtail plaintiff actions. These pleas set out special reasons according to which a trial can go ahead. If you've been pardoned for something, if you've already been to prison for it, you can't be charged with it again. You wouldn't make a plea, even say not guilty to a burglary that you've already been done 6 months in prison for. So there's, and there's others. But that's basically what the situation is with that, right? Okay. So I was then put in front of the magistrates on that day, been in custody all night and all the rest of it. And I said, right, I'm not going to give you a plea because I'm aware, you know, that you don't have to enter a plea at this stage, and that I will be requiring a Turnbull hearing. Right? Now that Turnbull hearing means it's based on identity. Identity is a key issue. If someone claims that you've done something, it's very hard to prove that you know anybody. Unless you caught me and Mark Salon having a kiss or having a cutch or something, right? On camera, again. It's very hard to prove. Yeah, well, okay, that's what I'm saying. It's very hard to prove that we even know each other, right? Someone you went to school with, you couldn't even remember. Yeah? So if you're saying that he's robbed your garage with a gun, you can say, oh, I know him. We were at school together 35 years ago. You know, they'd have to show you, if there's a question of identity, they have to give you an identification parade. Okay, identification. You have to establish that there's an identity problem, okay? And I've got some stuff in here to do that, right? With identity. It's called Turnbull. So it's a Turnbull hearing. If you're questioning the identity of something, it's a Turnbull hearing. So I said to the court at that time, when Tom and Salon were there, there'll be a Turnbull hearing. Because I question the identity. I don't even know what's going on. You've charged me with something. I don't even know what it is. I've received no documentation of the CPS. So I'm here. Who knows what? So they made an order. And anyone was told to look at it. Directions in criminal proceedings. So I've got case management. This is what you've got to do. Now the case management normally is dealt with by the lawyers, but I asked for the case management. So it clearly shows that direction in criminal proceedings, the CPS has got to serve all the evidence by the 28th of the 3rd, 2016. And of course, when that date came, nothing happened. So I thought, okay, when we go to court, there's no case to answer. I've already laid forth that there's identification issues. And in fact, the court clerk has written on this piece of paper, the defendant denies any involvement in any alleged incident, has a son of the same name, uses the same name, and will rely on Turnbull for identification. So clear there, that's what is on the court record has got to be dealt with. So when I didn't receive any paperwork from the Crown Prosecution Service, I received that from the court, which is the case management. So when I went to court that day, it was very, very simple to me. They haven't produced the documents that they're supposed to do by the 28th. I haven't got to provide a defence because I don't know what I'm defending. There's going to be no case to answer. First and foremost, if they want to get off the ground, they have to establish the identity, which is all down in the case law. So, we went into court. Now bearing in mind, we've had quite a lot of success in the criminal courts lately, with no case to answer, and a lot of people are doing it all over the country. Some people are coming out from all sorts of angles, which is great, it's really interesting. But it's causing a stir. So on that day, myself and Linda walked into the magistrate's court. Now we knew this wasn't even an imprisonable offence. Section 5 public order, you could have and a copper. And they'll charge you for that sort of nonsense. Yeah? Whether rightly or wrongly, but that's what they'll do. So when we went to the court, I'm expecting that back years ago, I used to go in a court many years ago, and I'd say, I'd have take a load of people and we'd say stand up, sit down, and we'd start causing interruption in the court, right? Didn't do us any good. Put the other side on a little bit of a worry, but ultimately we started to use their own rules against them. So anyone who claims all the Freeman stuff's being used, listen, the Freeman stuff is right. It's right in principle, it's right in morals. But we know it has no good, it's no good against the machinery that comes against us. So what we do is we get to know that machinery, and we fight the machinery in its own backyard. So when we went to court that day, myself and Linda got ushered straight in. We travelled up from Hereford at 6 o'clock in the morning. all the way to there. We got there. Oh yes, come on in. So the usher said, sit down. So I went to this area, and he put Linda in one area, and this clerk jumped up and said, oh, he's sort of like a rabid dog. So move or you'll be in contempt and all that. So Linda said, oh, let's remain civil. So Linda went into the where they pointed her to go. So he said, you previously indicated you're not guilty plea. I said, no, there's no plea before the court. No, guilty or not guilty? I said, I can't plead. So we got into an argument, but I know at this point that I'm thinking to myself, hang on mate, you forgot to bring your red nose this morning. Do you know what I mean? What's going on? You're a clown today. You're not a clerk today, you're a clown. Anyway, so the shame went on, I went to the magistrate, blah blah blah. Next thing is, I'm removed from the court and put in a glass box. So, I'm put in a glass box. Okay, it's part of the course. They put me in the box, you have to talk them through these little shutters. The magistrates have all gone. This clerk's still fanning around, shouting, and Linda was saying, can't anybody see what's going on here? You know, Linda was saying that in the courtroom. They got her right. So I said to him, it's the gospel truth. So I said to him, like, what's your name, son? And he said, I don't have to give you my name. I said, what's your name? You do. And the 1980 magistrates called out. He said, well, I'll give you my name. He said, I don't care. My name's Michael Cray. I said, what, as in fish? And he went, yes. And I thought, crayfish, you know, it's a bottom-feeding crustacean. but anyway, so that was what happened there. So the next thing is, then the police come steaming in. So the police surrounded the thing, and I'm saying, right, because I've been up at 6 in the morning, I'm now put in the box, I haven't had a single drink. So you can give me a drink, and I'm locked in the box, away from everybody else, and we can't open the door. Right, so the court's there, look at the court, and they're saying that I can't, and there's no security staff to open the door there. I said, well, give me a straw, something I can drink through the back partition, right? No, we can't. All the coppers come around, so we've got all this going on. So I said, listen, I'm really happy you guys are here. I said, I should have called you before, which me and Roger Hayes got this. I should have called you before because this is a private business enterprise. These people have got a private security firm, and I fear for my safety, so I want one of you in here at all times, right? Oh, we're not here for that. Well, we're here to arrest you. What for? Contempt of court. I said, brilliant. Contempt of court. That means I'll be offered the opportunity to explain my action.